everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jasmine. I'm just about to go into second year of university. I'm studying, I forgot for a moment, I'm studying journalism at the University of Sheffield, and even though it's a bit late, I thought that I would just make a video talking about my freshers experience last year, how I kind of found it all, settling into university, of being away from home for the first time, and some of the things that I think I would have told myself last year, or things that I wish I had done a bit differently. Of course, unfortunately, with COVID and all of the guidelines that we currently have, if you're a fresh right now, you're probably not able to experience it in the same way, but I hope you're still able to have a nice time. And if you're in your freshers week right now, or you will be soon, I hope you have a lovely time. One of the first things that I did once I had chosen my accommodation was try and find out about my flatmates. I was thankful that because I was in one of the uni accommodations, I was able to find my flatmates on Facebook because they had set up a group for us, which was nice. So I met a couple of my flatmates and I was able to start speaking to them a couple of weeks before we moved in, which was nice and made it a bit less awkward when I first met them in person. Of course, you won't always be able to do that, but if there's any way that you can find out more about the people you'll be living with, then I would definitely do that. And in general for your course as well, before you start, if there's a group for that, so you can try and meet some people who are doing the same classes as you and just make some friends before you're in class. It might be a bit nicer as well. So yeah, I would utilise any social media or any group chats and things that have been set up by the university for you, if they have done that, to try and make friends before you arrive or before you start properly doing classes and things like that. I did a lot of shopping. I did shopping for like decorations and furniture and kitchen supplies and things while I was in London, because that's where I'm from originally. And then it was when I got to Sheffield that I just did final bits to make my room feel more like my own and got groceries. So I wouldn't recommend getting groceries before you move into your place, especially because with accommodation you don't know how much space you actually have with like cupboards and fridge freezers, so you don't want to overpack and then not actually have anywhere to put your stuff. Another thing that I did was looked at travelling options back to London so that I was able to just kind of organise my time a bit better and know how much it was, like an average train or coach ticket, and how long it would take and things like that, so that I could, if I wanted to, plan in advance, which I would recommend as well, because prices can really get expensive, especially if you are getting the train and don't want to be on like a 4-hour coach ride. But I guess it depends on where you're from as well. But yeah, I would recommend looking at how you can get from Sheffield or your university to wherever else. So I'm probably going to keep on talking about Sheffield because that's just where I am, but this applies to wherever you go or wherever you're from. So I would say another thing that I did was just read about my course a bit more, just so I knew what the modules would be, what kind of things I would be studying, and what I would need to do to prepare. So for journalism, we have to learn something called shorthand. Sorry, I keep moving in this chair, but we have to learn something called shorthand, which is kind of a writing system that journalists use to take down notes a lot faster. So there was a textbook that we had to get for that, so I bought it and then started learning what I needed to learn, just so that I was a little bit ahead and I didn't have to then spend too much time once I started my shorthand classes catching up or starting from the beginning, and I could just kind of move on. So any reading that you need to do before, I'd recommend you doing it, just because you might think that you have less classes at uni and more time, but that's not kind of always the case, especially if you want to socialise and have time for yourself. You don't want to be cramming everything last minute and then being kind of stressed about it, because your teachers and professors, they won't run after you like they would at school, which is something you'll probably just find out. It's a lot more independent. You have to work hard, even though it's not as difficult as you might think A-levels were, or that's what I found at least. The independence side of things and the amount of like reading that you have to do is quite a lot, so I would recommend kind of trying to get on top of that if you can. And what else did I do? I was going to say I did apply for student finance for like tuition and maintenance loan, but I could probably do a different video talking a bit more in depth about that. and what my average costs were for groceries and travelling and things like that, if anyone wants to know that kind of information in advance. But yeah, I did that just so I knew how much I would have for my accommodation, for my food, for anything that I needed to get, and kind of do a little bit of a budget thing just so I wasn't overspending and that I always had enough money if I wanted to go out with my friends and things like that, because you definitely will want to try and do that quite a bit, at least when you first start. So I'll talk about some things that helped me settle, because I feel like it's such a new experience when you start university, especially if you are living in accommodation for the first time away from home, which was the case for me. It was so weird having my own room, having a flat where it was just like young people. There were no adults, no parents, no one to tell you what to do, which can be a good thing and a not so great thing at the same time. So I made sure that I was speaking to my family and friends back home fairly regularly, just so that there was a bit of normality. I didn't feel like I was completely removed from them, because it is a fair distance away. And if you're an international student, or if you're just quite far away from home, it can be quite daunting, and it can feel a bit lonely at times. So it's kind of important to remember who you have to contact and to make new friends as well at the same time, so that you don't feel too much like you're on your own, even if you are a lot of the time. A few of the problems that I had with moving to uni, so a lot of this is accommodation based, and you might be at home, so you probably wouldn't experience these things. But homesickness has to be my number one. As someone who had never lived away from home before, it was strange. It was nice to have my own space, but I did miss my family and friends and just having familiar faces around me. Even though I do like my flatmates, I liked my flatmates last year, it was just a bit strange, or did take some getting used to, which is normal. And yeah, so calling, talking to people often, and making your room and your flat feel more like a home for you. Maybe bring something that's a comfort from your own home. I brought one of my teddy bears. She's not here right now, but I brought her last year just because it was something from home, from my childhood, that made me feel a bit more comfortable. I would say having a routine as well is something that was quite strange to get to terms with. Of course, you have your timetable for your classes if you've got that now, so it tells you where you'll need to be, even though now I think a lot of things will be online. My classes are almost all online for now. I'm not sure when that will change or if it will, but knowing how much time you can have for yourself, how much time you need to spend revising, when you should do your grocery shopping, when you should do your laundry, what are the good days to go out, when events are happening and things like that. Sorting that all out and trying to be organised, I would recommend doing it. You can be carefree, you can be spontaneous, that's cool too, and that's kind of what student life is about. But yeah, just in terms of, if you're like me and you overthink things or you get stressed out and you just kind of want to know what's happening, then I would try and have somewhat of a regular routine. You can leave some time open for whatever, but yeah, just having some things that you know you need to do within a week and planning that out. Even meals and things like that, that was quite helpful for me. I'm not really someone who goes out a lot, I will say. So in terms of parties and nights out and clubs and things, that's not me. I did try to go out a couple of times in Freshers Week with my flatmate. We went to a bar a couple of times, which was nice, and just helped us get to know each other a bit better as well. And so I could say that, oh, okay, I've finally been to a bar. I turned 18, I went to a bar, that's what I needed to do. But if that's not your scene, then that's perfectly fine. You can stay in as much as you want. You can have friends around, you can do cooking together, you can have your own little parties or your own little Netflix nights or anything like that. So anything that you'll enjoy and that won't make you feel too out of your comfort zone, I would do. You don't have to force yourself to run outside every night and go to all the parties, all of the festivals, all of the concerts and whatever, and unless you want to, but there will be a lot on offer, and yeah, you'll be hearing about them everywhere, so just choose the ones that you want to go to. And if you go and you don't end up liking it, you don't have to stay the whole night. Make up an excuse and just say that you're not feeling great and then go home, because there can be a bit of pressure, peer pressure, social pressure, and of feeling, oh, I'm independent now, I'm 18 or 19 or however old, I need to do all these things, I need to get out there, I need to be a partier, I need to be a real student, that's how I have to live my life. But it's not. And even if you don't realise that within Freshers Week, within the first few months, you will eventually, or you kind of just maybe get tired of the lifestyle. Not everyone does. There are still people who after a year, 2 years, or the whole uni time love partying, and that's fine too. It's just kind of finding out what's comfortable for you and what you like. So I went out a lot during the day and kind of like to just explore, even if that was just within the immediate vicinity, so my local groceries stores, regular shops, the town centre, the train station, just knowing how close they are in proximity to where you live, and looking around your campus as well, knowing what stores they have, if they have any restaurants or cafes, and yeah, what amenities and other things there are, just so you know, because you don't want to get lost, even though you will definitely get lost within the first few weeks, because I definitely did. You'll at least be a bit more kind of organised or aware if you take the time to just go around, write down where places are, and just do a bit of exploring during the day. That I wouldn't go late at night. Yeah, so I was saying that I didn't force myself to do everything just because I know that that's not really me. But I think in hindsight, maybe I would have put myself out there just a little bit more, so that because I did spend a lot of time inside. But just in terms of, I didn't know, as no one knew that lockdown was going to happen and that COVID was going to happen, and that we'd kind of have 6 months of nothingness, no socialising, no parties. So in hindsight, I might have gone to a few more things. It was kind of nice just to be able to know what it's like to go to a party for the first time, to be out at nights and not have a curfew, and kind of just do whatever you want to do and kind of come out of your shell. You can kind of reinvent yourself when you go to university, which is really nice. So if you were kind of struggling with anything before, or weren't kind of feeling comfortable or confident in yourself, then you can kind of rebrand or put yourself out there a bit more, because no one knows you. This is the version of yourself that you've chosen to present to new people, and they'll just have to take you as you are. So that's kind of a really nice thing about university in general and Freshers Week, kind of that starting process of being a new person, or coming out of your shell a little bit. So there were welcome fairs with freebies, and just information like what clubs and societies there were. So you may well have that sort of thing online, so I would take advantage of that, because they should hopefully still have clubs and fairs that you can just do virtually. So you might be able to do a dance class from your bedroom, or do a language class online and things like that. So if you're interested in any clubs, it's worth knowing what they have, even if you won't be able to do everything the same way that you would have last year. It is a shame, but I think making the best out of a bad situation is kind of the thing that you would have to do in these circumstances. So hopefully you still have a great social experience and are able to make the most, or at least this first intro week. I know that Sheffield does have things online and virtual this year, so I would make the most of that. And yeah, another thing that I did in Freshers was familiarise myself with campus, kind of like I was saying before, and the area, just knowing what things there are on site, what things there are in the city, and where I think I would be frequenting the most. I was kind of doing most of that myself, so I didn't really go out with people much in Freshers Week, apart from the couple of times at night with my flatmates. So I was kind of walking around by myself a bit, which was nice, to make yourself a bit more comfortable and more familiar with the area. Friends is an important part of university. So in terms of how I made friends, one of the first things was through shared accommodation. So hopefully you'll be with some decent people in your flat or your house or wherever. So those could be instant friends for you, like I said. So I got along with my flatmates, which was nice. So those were kind of like instant friends that I could talk to, that we could give advice to, and we could just hang out with when we wanted. I didn't actually make friends on my course by approaching anyone. I tend to be quite introverted and kind of shy, so I didn't go up to people like I thought that I would. Even though I knew myself, I wasn't likely to do that, but yeah, I really didn't. But I was fortunate that after one of the induction lectures, which is another thing you should have on intro week, or at least the first proper week of term, these two girls approached me and just started talking to me, and just, yeah, we became friends instantly. And a year later, we are still close friends, so I'm really grateful for them approaching me. And I kind of do wish that I had have pushed myself out there a bit more, just to say, oh hi, how are you? How did you find the induction lecture? How did you find moving in? Just think of little questions that you could ask someone that you would appreciate being asked yourself, or that you would have something to talk about. Just as a way of breaking the ice, not making things too awkward, and just putting yourself out there. If nothing becomes of it, then at least you tried. You can feel good about yourself for kind of, yeah, trying to make more friends. But if it doesn't end up working out, that's okay. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people at universities, loads of people in your course, loads of people around the student union, and just in general. Anywhere you go, and with clubs and societies especially, just talk to people, smile at people, try and be friendly, try and ask questions, and you should make friends in no time. What was I gonna say as well? Oh yeah, the group chats as well is another way of making friends, and just messaging people. Even if you're on Facebook, I downloaded Facebook especially, sorry, I don't know what that was. I downloaded Facebook specifically for starting university because I know they had group chats. So I'd recommend that if you're able to. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know why I can't speak. I'm so sorry, that's embarrassing.
That's all, folks.
But at the end of the day, you don't need a lot of friends at uni, because a lot of it is about yourself, about your course, and just a handful of people that you can hang around with and explore with and do things with is fine. You don't have to have dozens of friends. There's no need for it, and you probably won't have time for all of them as well. So yeah, finding a good set of solid friends is probably the best way to go about it. Unless you're a social butterfly and are just able to talk to anyone and just pick people up and have dozens of friends, then that's cool too. Some of the things I would tell myself from last year are to go to more societies, to put myself out there more, to socialise more, to try and make the most of meeting new people, of being in a new place, of having new experiences. Even if I don't stick to a club, even if I only go once or twice and then I'm like, no, that's not really for me. Even if the friendships don't work out, putting yourself out there, kind of rebranding yourself and coming out of your comfort zone a little bit. This is kind of the time to do it, I would say. You'll have plenty of opportunities later on in life, but I just mean if you've been in the education system for the past like 14 years or however long it is, and you're now kind of without control, more independent, you're finally an adult or you're a bit older, this is kind of the time that I really felt a bit less restrained, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would try and make the most of that. I would also utilise support services, so welfare and counselling and things like that. If there's anything that's on your mind, if you're just homesick, if there are any mental health issues that you're worried about, or if there are just little things that you're concerned about or anxious for, or just want to know some general information, I would make the most of that. Student mentors, and just kind of professionals that your uni should have on campus to talk to, and online things as well. And getting to know your lecturers, and if you have a personal tutor, using them, taking advantage of anyone that you have at your disposal. Not in a bad way, but just because they're there to help you, they're there for a reason. And just don't suffer in silence is the main thing as well. Don't kind of feel that because you're an adult, you have to do everything yourself. You don't. you'll always have people who want to help you and who are willing to help you, so I take advantage of them. Always take time out for yourself and things that will make you happy and that you want to do, and don't let anyone belittle you or make you feel pressured into doing something, because those people aren't good for you at all. So yeah, do what makes you happy, what makes you comfortable, and be yourself and make the most of your opportunities is kind of generally what I would say. So yeah, I think that's all I'll say in this video, because yeah, like I said, this has been quite a long video, so sorry about that. But hopefully some of this was useful or good to know, and I might do a part 2 on talking about, yeah, because I was going to answer why I actually chose to go to university, why I chose this course and this university specifically, so I think I'll make a separate video for that. And yeah, so I think that's it, that's all I'll say for now. So thank you very much for watching this if you've made it to the end, but I hope this was helpful in some ways. Please comment if there's anything else that you would like to know, if you have any specific questions, and I can answer them in the comments or make another video about it, and I'll be grateful to help. So yeah, I hope you're having a nice day. I hope if you're at university now, you're having a great week and you make the most of it, or you just have lots of nice things to do, and that you enjoy university. You're at uni, congratulations for getting into uni. I should have said that at the start, but congratulations, and I hope it goes well. So thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye!